Donald Trump is facing new federal charges in the case involving his alleged mishandling of classified documents. In an indictment released yesterday, the former president is accused of asking a Mar-a-Lago employee to delete security camera footage. Jarred Hill has the latest details.
The Department of Justice unsealed a superseding indictment yesterday, showing that former President Donald Trump has been hit with 3 new charges in the Florida federal documents case.
This is harassment. This is election interference.
He now faces accusations of conspiring to pressure a staffer to delete camera footage at his Mar-a-Lago estate in an effort to obstruct the investigation.
This just adds more devastating evidence and ammunition.
In another charge, the indictment refers to this audio recording obtained by CBS News, which allegedly captures the former president showing an Iran war plan to several people without security clearances. It happened 2 years ago at his New Jersey golf club.
It is like highly confidential secret.
A third defendant, Mar-a-Lago worker Carlos de Oliveira, was also added to the case. The revelations came after Trump posted on Truth Social that his attorneys had a productive meeting with the special counsel's office in Washington yesterday. And days ago, the 2024 GOP candidate revealed he received a letter indicating he's a target in the probe into efforts to overturn the results of the 2020 election.
All right, so for more on this, I want to bring in CBS News legal contributor Rebecca Roiphe. So one more charge piled on top. Just walk us through the severity of this additional charge. Which one sort of stands out to you as potentially carrying the most significant penalty?
You know, I think the destruction of evidence is clearly the most damning piece of evidence in terms of the potential sentence that could come with it. It is obviously an extremely serious crime to destroy evidence in an ongoing investigation. It looks like the supporting evidence in that particular count is strong. So I think, you know, that is important. It's also important because it buttresses the case in general. It makes it, it's essentially what we call consciousness of guilt. The cover-up is not only a crime in and of itself, it also shows that this was not an accident, and that's critical in and of itself. I also think the showing of that document, the Iran attack plan, is important in a different way, perhaps less directly significant legally, but extremely important in terms of the narrative, because as we heard in your clip, one of the key talking points for the former president is, I am being singled out. Look at all the other people who have done exactly the same thing. Biden, Pence, they all had documents in places that they weren't supposed to have them. Why am I the one who's getting indicted? Well, a clear difference here is none of them were showing a highly classified secret document to others. So I think that count is extremely important in that way as well.
And, you know, you're right. When I think about kind of the former president's response to a lot of these allegations, you know, it's kind of ranged between, hey, there were a lot of things in the boxes, you know, there were golf shirts in the boxes and papers. I didn't know what was in there, to, well, I declassified it. I could declassify it in my mind. So really it wasn't classified at all. But this particular most recent count suggests an awareness that he was, you know, that there was he was asked for this video, and that the allegation is he then told a staffer to erase said video that he was asked for. From the defense point of view, do you think that Trump's legal team is going to have to adjust their initial strategy because of this additional charge?
Yes, I think it's difficult. I mean, first of all, you know, as you say, this is an unusual case, and you normally, as a prosecutor, you don't have your defendant go out and trot out, you know, their various different defenses. But in this case, because the former president speaks so publicly about it, we know what his defenses are going to be. And yes, they have been shifting, just as you say, but many of them include the sort of, you know, I was too busy. I didn't even notice these documents. That's a new one. And that becomes increasingly hard to sustain when there seems to be such strong evidence that he was directly involved in an effort to destroy evidence. It makes it very hard to sustain that claim. So he's going to have to sort of back some into some other defenses, and they're shrinkingly small ones that would be effective.
So this makes a third defendant as well, Carlos de Oliveira, I think, is added to the indictment now. The second defendant is also an aide or a former aide to President Trump. They're co-defendants. I guess you could do three defendants at the same time, but that must complicate things for Trump in his case.
It does complicate things, and it's a little hard from our perspective to know exactly what's in the special counsel Jack Smith's mind. But, sometimes when charges are added like this, part of the incentive is to try to turn one of those defendants into a witness. In other words, to get that person to cooperate. Some of the evidence seems extremely strong and damning against De Oliveira. So it's possible that, at some point he jumps ship. He has, both of them have remained entirely loyal to the former president. But if one of them decides to cooperate, that can always happen. And then that strengthens the case against the other two or the other one.
Right. All right. We will be watching. Rebecca, thank you.
Thank you.
Well, other GOP presidential candidates are sounding off on the Trump indictment. That includes Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. Our Ed O'Keefe asked him if Trump's legal issues disqualify the former president from running for a GOP nomination.
At the end of the day, voters make that decision. Some people ask me, like, well, if somebody's indicted, should they be able to run? The problem is we've seen political indictments. I mean, I think Bragg was political. You have these people. So that would just give any prosecutor the ability to render someone ineligible. So I've not said that. But I also think just at the end of the day, the election's got to be about the future. It's got to be about what people are concerned about.
DeSantis made those remarks in Iowa yesterday. They come after he cut about a third of his campaign staff this month as part of a campaign reset.